Tony D with a screenwriter's rant on Alice. Little Jones asleep on the couch. Let's get into it. Smash like. Oh, right. Somebody told me not to say that today. Upvote me. Upvote me. So more people see my videos. There. I said it differently. If you'd like to support the channel, the best way, that's the free way. If you want to throw a little money my way, buy a book. All the links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Book 8 is dropping in about 2 weeks. March 1st is my goal. It's all ready. I just got to go over the editing one more time and upload it, basically. So this movie's called Alice, and it's billed as a thriller movie, but it's really a sci-fi movie. So it opens with slave times, and Alice is one of the slaves, and it's all horrible. And then one day, they decide, two of the slaves, Alice and her boyfriend or husband, try to leave. Now, it says inspired by true events. I guess. Technically that's true, but it's a bit of a stretch because of what happens. So, Alice is escaping with her husband and or boyfriend, and she ends up in modern times, ends up in the 70s. Gets away and ends up in the 70s somehow. So, truck nearly runs her over. So this is a big Sundance movie because it's so wildly independent. And she meets this trucker who's, living in the 70s. And she's shocked at, the world, how it's changed. And she gets all modernized, and she gets a new hairstyle, and learns about black civil rights and black power. And gets totally radicalized, right? Not totally. She'd have reason to be radicalized, right? She was an actual slave. So she learns modern technology and gets super empowered, and then decides she wants to go back and kill all the slave owners. I don't exactly understand how she could just go back in time, but okay. Sure, I could see that. And Alice goes back in time, and I assume murders all her slave owners and frees all the slaves, and they come to the future and have a great life. It's not a bad concept. It's kind of cool. I love time travel, so I'm a little biased towards this movie. Again, just like Firestarter, it's really more of a Twilight Zone episode. This would be an amazing Twilight Zone episode. What you could do in a half hour or an hour with this is a lot. What you can do in a movie, at about the hour mark, you're going to be like, oh yeah, she's just, how did you by the hour mark, you start thinking about a movie, I think. At least I do. You start thinking, how does this work exactly? She goes back in time and murders people. Won't that change history? This is the problem with time travel stuff. See, in a shorter format, I think it'll work. I think it works better. This movie will be okay. I think it'll be fun. I like the time travel aspect of it. I like the idea of, 70s black power dude going back in time to help her free the slaves. That sounds like a fun premise. Her reading about history and how everybody, got free at first, not understanding it and being freaked out. Inspired by true events. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, kinda. That's a pretty loose interpretation. Yeah, there was slavery, but I don't think we know of a slave that traveled through time. So, let's inspired by true events is really just silly. Unless this guy's out in the woods somewhere, still has slaves illegally, but you could just, even in the 70s, that wouldn't have flown. That wouldn't have flown at all. So I assume she somehow travels through time to go back and kill this guy. I assume. Now, maybe it's a thing where he secretly had slaves all these years, and nobody knew. I think the time travel part would be way better. I love the idea of a slave going into the future and then going back and getting revenge. That's That's a fun, well, yeah, it's kind of a fun concept. I mean, it's a concept you can get behind. Fun is probably the wrong word. I mean, it'll be a satisfying narrative. But, again, I don't know if it's a whole movie. It feels like a really solid Twilight Zone episode. Oh yeah, solid, rock solid Twilight Zone episode. One they couldn't do. And you could probably guess why they greenlit this thing, because it's kind of woke. But this is an actual story that could work if they don't go too woke with it. I mean, you could easily go too preachy, like, okay, yeah, we get it. It's good that it's set in the early 70s, I think 72 he said, because that's the right window of time. That's when this is still on the forefront. Civil rights only happened like 5 years prior. Things are happening in the 70s with the Black Power movement. That's like a perfect time period. Like if it had been in modern times, it would have been probably insufferable to watch. Right? You'd have these pink-haired idiots going, well, we're not only empowering black people, but also transgender people. What are transgender people? Oh, well, let me explain to you our flag that has a million colors in it. And by the way, we're all alphabet people, and you're going to have to memorize 17 letters of the alphabet for our group. Like, that would have been too much to explain, and I don't think it would have been nearly as satisfying. Like, this makes sense to me. Maybe it's because I grew up in the 70s, and I kind of remember it. I mean, 72, I was only 6 years old, but, I would see stuff on TV, people with the big giant fros. So, yeah, I mean, this could be good. First act, she's in slave times. She ends up in the future. That's a whole first act, probably. So, second act, the trucker finds her, nearly runs her over, brings her in to the modern era, helps her out, gets her all modernized, and soon she's, using a phone and reading newspapers and learn to read. I mean, that would be a big one. And after, I don't know, several months of living in the future, her future, she finally gets, hey, I ought to go back there and shoot that old plantation over. Can you do that? I don't know. That's the one question I have of this movie. Is it time travel? Is it not? And if so, how does she do it? Does she just walk through the woods and magically time travel? Maybe. And then she goes back, third act, gets her revenge. Not sure, beyond that, I'm not sure what statement it is. That's why it's probably not, that's why it's going to be a bit of a stretch. I mean, it's a good low budget movie, I guess, but it should be a tight 90. Should be a tight 90 minutes. This has a lot, I think, more potential than, say, Firestarter, because at least you have, you have the issues you're dealing with, you have some action, you have the revenge thing. Like the Firestarter character, yeah, some of that's revenge, but it's more contrived than this. This is ready-made. This is ready to go. So, yeah, would I see it? Yeah, I'd see it. I don't know if I'd go to the movies for it. Maybe. I mean, I feel like it's a B movie. A B movie, like, this is something they would have produced in the 70s. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, they would have produced, and maybe they already did. Maybe there's a remake. I don't even know. I could totally see them doing this in the 70s. Yeah. And then it would be a lot more action, But I like there's a little bit of action at the end. That'd be a good way to end it, with some exciting, like, gunplay and, she finally gets her revenge. So, yeah, I think this movie's got... I would probably see it. I don't know if I'd go to the theaters to see it. I guess if I was up for a B movie and there was nothing really exciting out other than this, I'd probably go. Otherwise, I'd probably wait for streaming. Yeah, I might see it on streaming. Maybe I'll review it. I think it'll be decent. I don't think it's... I don't feel like it's lecturing to me or anything like that. I mean, I think there'll be a couple of scenes like that where she's reading about the Black Power movement and gets all high and mighty, but I think it's appropriate, right? unlike a lot of other movies where it just feels like so ham-fisted and stupid. At least she's an actual slave. Like, she's an actual slave. She totally needs this, right? She needs to get this revenge. You know, it's not just someone who's posing. It's someone who has actually experienced it. So anyhow, that's Alice. Look for that in 2022. I wish you'd tell us when these things come out. Yeah, that's about all I got for you. So that's it for me, Tony D. Little Jones asleep on the couch. Check us out on our other video channels at Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble. We have a news blast and a Hollywoke hot take. Don't forget tomorrow, 2 p.m. the live stream. It's going to be a live stream for the Piney podcast. We got a lot of South Jersey stuff to talk about tomorrow, so don't miss it, and we'll see you